Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's conversation, aligning Tier 1 and special education on purpose. My name is Michelle Hess. I am the founder of Included Consulting, and I'm here with my colleague, Deb Hanmer, today. I'll let her introduce herself a little bit.
Hi, everyone. Deb Hanmer. I'm founder and CEO of Breakthrough Leadership Consulting. I'm excited to be here today for this conversation.
Great. Deb and I are your hosts for today, and we have both worked together for well over a decade. And the bulk of our work together has been partnering to improve outcomes for all students in their learning environments. And we've seen a lot. We've seen almost anything you can imagine in schools.
Mhm.
And so when we first started working together, I had the specialized, like special ed expertise. So in other words, when a student has extremely complex needs, how could we serve them better? But Deb was the OG dean of students. She had the best eye on routines, relationships, systems for tier one culture. And I very quickly learned that as a special ed leader, I could not help a student in isolation, that I had to work with teachers and leaders at the classroom and school level too. So Deb, has taught me so much about the intersections between school culture and student support, and I'm thrilled to welcome her here today. Welcome, Deb.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you, Michelle.
yeah. So as I mentioned, Deb and I have been talking, since we first started working together about the intersection between tier one and special education. And the number of students with IEPs has been steadily increasing over the
Mm.
past 5 years. One of the things that I hear over and over again from schools is that special education is too hard, it's too complicated, or it's too scary.
And I'll be honest, Michelle, when I started doing this work, I really thought of special education services. Often it's like paperwork and attorneys. It was something that involved possibly getting sued, which I know no one wants to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. In schools, so schools either spend all their time and energy on the compliance part of special education, or they're spending time navigating situations that now have legal involvement, and it can be completely exhausting and overwhelming.
Yeah. And I often hear from school leaders, and I can't lie and say this phrase didn't maybe come out of my mouth once or twice, right? Um, Teachers are really frustrated. They're
Mhm.
upset about a particular student situation, and they want a solution yesterday, right?
Yes,
Something that they feel like is really disrupting their class or stopping them from teaching. They want a solution right now.
100%. And uh, serving students with special education needs can also be highly emotional. Like
Mm.
I have definitely cried once over a student case,
You're
because
not
there's
alone.
right, like there's so many emotions involved in
Yeah.
serving kids with disabilities. Like a parent can be overwhelmed, a teacher can feel frustrated because they're not getting results, and then it all reaches a boiling point, and then special education is just something no one wants to deal with. Um, so the good news is that we're here to tell you today is that it doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah, that is good news, especially since, from my understanding, about 15% of all children and youth across the country receive special education supports. I'm gonna take a stab at this, right?
Okay.
But does a strong tier one culture have anything to do with making special education work, Michelle?
Yeah, absolutely. So you nailed it. And many schools are already doing amazing things at the tier one level. But where they get stuck is that
Mm,
they're not noticing what they're doing that's working. And then they're not applying those strategies to the right set of kids. So as
mm.
a result, their work can just feel totally fruitless and totally ineffective. So let's talk about that common misconception that serving students with disabilities is just too hard.
I mean, that conversation happens so frequently, especially I don't know if it's new or more intense right now, but I hear it
Mhm,
all the time from school leaders.
mhm, mhm. Yep. And so that the special education system has been designed or could can be designed to make it feel that way. But we have learned a lot in the past several years about designing instruction for kids with IEPs. So I want to talk a little bit about this concept called learner variability.
Hmm.
So learner variability basically means that any kid, regardless of whether they have an IEP or not, have some variability in how they learn. And this comes from a book by Todd Rose, who's a researcher, and he says basically like human beings don't line up perfectly. There's no average learner.
That sounds like a lot of adults, right? Like
Right. Right.
not wired the same. So I mean, don't all of us have variability? Like, we don't all have the same shoe size. We don't all dress the same. We don't like the same things, right? Um, I know even, kind of thinking about, even though everyone thinks I'm an introvert, extrovert, I know some people are introverts, some people are extroverts, right?
Yeah.
We're all just like different in so many ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is true, and then you layer in all the environmental factors that can be changed from day to day, like how
Yep.
much sleep we got the night before or whether we ate breakfast or lunch that day or, whatever.
Yep. I know when I don't have that coffee in the morning,
Yeah.
my brain is so much slower. And you know, I know I've talked to leaders, especially those who kind of work with, in with these challenging student cases about like just things like making sure they're eating and getting good night's sleep, right? Because that changes how they show up and process all of the things.
Yeah. Right. And so now I mean, we're two pretty, accomplished adults and we
Sure.
we also have we can think of 1,000 ways that we're different or that, our environment impacts us. And so
Mm,
let's think about the same thing for kids, right? So let's say that you have a student who has been diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder. So
yes.
they have a
Yes.
pretty restrictive IEP. They've got lots of services outside the classroom. Maybe they have a dedicated aide, they've got a behavior plan, and their ELA teacher it just keeps saying like I don't know what to do with them. They're always getting referred out of my class or they're fighting with their peers or they're talking back. They're just the ELA teacher is kind of at their wits end.
Yeah. I've definitely worked with kids who fit this profile. I think some of my early learning in this work. I'm picturing one young lady right now who was amazing and an amazing teacher to me and how to address some of this. But yes, absolutely. I've worked with kids who fit that profile.
Yeah. But wait until you hear what their math teacher is saying. Their math teacher is like, I love having this kid in class. I've got no
Mm,
problems with them.
mm. Wait,
So,
okay. Okay,
yeah,
we like
right,
that.
right. So now, if you're the school administrator, you're the principal, and you have two teachers coming to you with totally different stories of the same kid, like, what do you think the school administrator is thinking to themselves?
Oh, this is an easy one for me to process also, right? Let's see, I'm thinking this kid is being kicked out of ELA class every
Mhm.
day and instigating fights with peers. It's too hard to serve them. I mean, that's
Yeah.
enough. ELA is enough.
Yeah. And they might also be confused. They're like, why is the math teacher having a great
Mm,
experience with this child, but the child is the same child? This is exactly what learner variability means, that it
mm,
can be any child, right? But because often the changes in environment can exacerbate, right? Like the impact of
mm,
a student with a disability, the changes across the school day might be more pronounced. And as a
mm,
result, it's like it makes it seem to schools like it's too hard to serve a kid like that.
mm.
But in actuality, schools could reframe, right? They're already probably doing that math teacher is probably already doing 1,000 great things that the administrator wants them to do. And if schools could just capitalize on that and figure out how to help every teacher do what that math teacher is doing, they could figure out how to serve special education students better.
Yeah, learning from what's working versus kind of focusing on what's not going well. Yeah. No, that's smart.
Yeah. Exactly. And so this is exactly the point of why making like tier one and special education work together can be so effective. So like, what do you think maybe that math teacher is doing in their classroom already that is probably in your wheelhouse of tier one
Yeah.
strategies? What do you think they're doing?
I mean, I'm always going to start with routine. So I'm betting the math teacher has some type of entry routine to the classroom that kind of creates some predictability for the student. That's always a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So entry routine is a great idea, right?
Yep.
Like maybe that I bet that teacher could be using choice, right? Like group time
Mm,
versus independent time. They
yes.
may
Yes.
have a classroom incentive going where,
Yes.
kids really love competition.
Yes.
And so there could be a variety of strategies that are working for this student. And guess what? When teachers apply those universal strategies in their classroom, they actually benefit all kids, not just those kids with IEPs.
Michelle, you're speaking my language. We worked together too long, right? It's a win on all sides here, right?
Yes.
None of those things hurt any child in the classroom, but they help everyone. And they especially might help the child who's struggling mightily, especially this child, this profile of a child we're discussing right now.
Yes. And there are so many amazing school leaders out there who are already coaching their teams to implement
Mm,
highly effective strategy. The ELA teacher in this scenario is not a bad teacher. They
no.
just need some coaching work to understand like why do those strategies matter, how to do them more effectively, especially for the students that they are struggling the most with.
It's funny when we talk about these, we have these conversations outside of the like arena
Yeah.
of the school. It sounds very simple, right? It's
Right.
like coach them up with some strong tier one strategies, helps all kids, helps our specialized students who receive specialized services as well. We know it's not that simple.
No, and it's not, but
Yeah,
it's still a lot of hard work. But as you always told me
yeah.
many, many moons ago, right? Special education, you put the work in on the front end, right? And you can create opportunities for kids to access their learning. Like they can take the stairs, they can use the railing, they can go
Mm,
up the ramp in the visual that we're seeing right now.
yep.
Like if schools could do that work on the front end, they're still doing the same amount of work if they get sued on the back end, right? And so like then it's
Yep.
just a bunch of work on the back end and it's probably not as fun and it's probably not as impactful or even inclusive.
Yes. Yeah. It's sort of the strategies that are just good for kids, right?
Yeah.
That are good for the environment. It's like we're never wrong in implementing those. And even when we don't see the result right away, especially for students who have, complex needs, it doesn't mean it's still not the right approach and the
Mhm.
good thing to do. And honestly, it's better than being just constantly frustrated, right? Like trying
Yes.
something to have an impact. It's definitely a better feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, that's what you and I love to do. And that's what
Yeah.
we are hoping that some other schools are willing to jump into this work to help you all understand how to use what you already are doing, but just do it in a slightly tweaked way. Use what you already have to serve kids with disabilities more effectively. So thank you, everybody, so much for coming to today's conversation on aligning tier one and special education on purpose.
Thank you.